Hello, everyone, and welcome. In this recording, I'm going to be speaking about this upcoming Libra equinox, or I'm going to refer to this many times as autumn equinox because where I live, it is the autumn equinox. But of course, you must put it into context where you live because it might be the spring equinox for you. So remember, when I'm referring to it as autumn equinox, it is because where I live, it is the beginning of autumn. So you must put it into context. That takes place on the 22nd of September this year. Now, like always, equinoxes and solstices are quite important because whatever takes place in the sky at that particular moment, so astrologically speaking, when the sun enters 0 degrees of the cardinals, in this case Libra, the astrological picture, almost a snapshot, will depict what the divine intent for the karmic period of the next 3 months, so the next season, is going to be roughly. Of course, the intent, the divine plan is one part. How we react to it, how we enact it, and our choices are the other part that is, of course, totally uncontrollable. Free will, right? So I'm only going to mention the divine intent because what we'll do with it is really, really up to us. But I don't even have to mention this. It is a very big period. So this isn't your usual autumn or slash spring karmic cycle, of an average year. This is very, very big because all of us are deeply immersed into a massive world change that is unfolding as we speak and is going to be, unfolding all throughout the autumn, all throughout the winter, all through next year. So we are not out of the woods yet. But of course, next year energy is different, especially the second half, and 2026's energy, which is also going to be a year when we are still in it, but the energy, the expression, and what we need to do with it is very, very different because a different stage of the world change, so to speak. So this cycle is going to be intense. Not necessarily just of what happens at this astrological snapshot, what the planets are doing at this moment when the sun ingresses in Libra, but also the big picture. For example, Pluto, for the last time in our lifetimes, going back to that fated 29 degree of Capricorn, finishing his job, finishing the big transformation, the final touches that it started in 2008, and this includes the collective expression, but also the individual. Yes, Pluto is more of a collective planet where its targets are mostly collective. But because we are part of the collective, it plays out in our lives our own unique individual ways. So this is where Pluto is Pluto, and it's doing something very, very big and important. And 29 degree, final. This is like the big decisive moment of what really happens. And I said it so many times before, but I have to say it again. This is like the tower in tarot, the demolishing of the old paradigm, symbolically, but also not so symbolically. And in our own individual journeys, something which used to be stable, long term, like a symbolic backbone in our past, is now dust. What replaces that or what happens next? That is our job right now to, on one hand, hold out, until we have some building material options, whatever, and then to try executing it. We found the value under Uranus's transit in the sign of Taurus. That kind of changes in 2026 when it will be in Gemini and in there to stay mostly. So that's when the plan is gonna come together. That's when, with the values that we found in Taurus, in Gemini, we are putting them to good use. We are making the plan, executing, communicating, setting things up. So a Uranian perspective is also very important because Uranus is making certain conversations with other planets that are very important, powerful, relevant, and they give us power, a subtle, invisible power, which needs an awakened state. But it is a big power. And I'm speaking about Pluto trining Uranus in an Earth sign, as in the sign that the trine happening from Earth signs. And this is important because Earth is, after all, practical. It has to be practical. This trine will be held once again, but in a totally different sign, air, Gemini, Aquarius, and it will have a very different modus operandi, meaning, opportunity that offers. So even the trine in this configuration is for the last time and kind of unique in its own way. So this, and both of them sextile Neptune. So Neptune is at the point of the two sextiles. Neptune, the spirit, the feeling, the elevated emotion. Neptune, what we do with our faith, with our higher understanding, with our emotional strength, the power of our psyche, where it is that we invest it, what we do with it. And what we do with it is different, a different story, different journey, different everything for every different soul, every different person. Okay, of course, there are many similarities. Sorry, that is Pluto's job in Aquarius. Because Pluto is retrograded back to Capricorn. Its mission is in Aquarius, because this is the last moment. Its main mission is in Aquarius, so this is just when it is finishing its Capricornian stuff. But still, whatever it does now, Pluto, it's just meant to open the way for Aquarius, right? So that's very, very important because Aquarius is the collective, but also the individual at the same time. The duality of Aquarius. So whatever happens to us personally, of course, there are similar souls out there with similar patterns, but it is so distinctive as our fingerprints or genome and stuff like that. Because this is about, on one hand, our relationship with the divine source and also with the self. And we had a lot of time to figure this out. The past, actually quite many years, if you will. But from 2011, 12 onwards, we had that time to figure out what our relationship with the source is and also with the self, and if we needed to change things, transmute things, resolve things, especially with the self childhood, to free ourselves from limiting beliefs, etc. We had that time, and that in theory, along with dark nights of the soul and purging and all of that, that in the present moment means a strong experience, truth, authenticity, and the knowledge that there is no general truth out there. Each, I want to say soul, but maybe each sentient being also, how should I say, has to offer, put on the table, on the cosmic table, its own subjective interpretation of that truth. So very many times finding the truth always, always, always leads into the within. And then even within, it will be many times just the case of, well, the truth will be how you feel about it. But how you feel about it cannot be reflected by some kind of lower emotion or feeling. For example, the physical five senses. It has to transcend that, right? So it transcends it. We search higher and higher and higher until we get into either big philosophy, big research, big philosophical but slash empirical understanding, for example, PhD, or university, going through that. I'm not necessarily saying going to university, but going through that material, you know, the work of that on your own term, even self-study. That's another way of refining one's subjective understanding and the emotion that one will attribute to it. But then there is other types of transcendence. Isolation, as in isolating into nature, where contact with the stimuli of the human collective temporarily cease, and you find truly a brute understanding that just sources from within yourself after spending minimum 40 days or more in that type of sacred solitude. For example, like the Christ or Buddha or many other sages spend under the tree, whatever the tree, insert according to the culture, the specific of the tree, or Odin, or you know what I mean, when one seeks that very, very special and unique understanding and perspective of how one feels about something, and that is the ultimate truth for the person or being or whatever. So these years, especially the COVID lockups, really gave us the tree, the hangman, Odin, right? Suspended or patiently sitting under the tree to boil down, alchemize the truth, the most subjective truth, where it is just up to us. Where if we ask the divine, what is the truth? The divine will say, well, this is the big picture, right? But the ultimate truth is how you feel about it. So it passed the ball or whatever, ping pong back to you. And as you search ultimately for the higher versions of how you feel about it, you will start to realize that there really isn't right or wrong. There is only your divine design. You are slightly, because of your divine design, more likely to feel attraction, aspiration, acceptance to certain values in the cosmos or certain types of balance and feel like a not necessarily rejection, but an alienation to others. So that already is a perspective that is based on divine neutrality. But divine neutrality, before one gets there, right, we'll need immersion into both sides of the or many sides of the spectrum to understand why neutrality is a must. So, long story short, I just said the alchemist journey. So this is the journey what we were on. And this aspect, this grand sextile, asks us, almost makes us feel a bit, obligated morally to use this alchemical power, the inner truth, to believe in it more than ever, but in the right measure. So that means not fairy tales and fantasies, but true alchemy, magic, dreaming, but in the creational sense, using our divine spark, our divine power to embody the highest truth, everything that I've said in the past many minutes, but at the same time, to embody that which the divine pours into us, the divine's truth. Because if we are pure recipients, vessels, it will pour it into us gladly. That is what Aquarius is all about, right? And that's why Pluto is purifying it, unblocking it. Like the best symbolism. You know, when you have a blocked drain and there's these substances like sorry, the chemical drain cleaners that you pour into it, wait a little bit, and then it dissolves the blockage. That's what Pluto is doing to our higher channels, right? Uh, and that, in a very physical form, is an electromagnetic energy. So it really needs to change the frequency our brains operate. Why? So that the frequency also gets a filter. It automatically rejects, filters out the frequency that we don't want to hear, resonate with, not interested, and it invites in that which is very much us, Aquarius. And that which is very much us, that's a state of purity, and the divine can pour the water bearer, right? The goddess pouring water of inspiration and life onto, that's the water bearer, inspired thought, divine thought. Let's make it happen, the big dream. So, in theory, that is what our future should be about. But we are clean vessels for that right now, pure vessels. So the way I see this autumn um, equinox, Libra equinox, is that we are gonna be filled up with symbolic water, whatever is meant for us. But that is just a dream or a thought, and we will need to process it and then make sense of it. The new, the next. But Sun into Libra, right? But this is every single Libra equinox. Partnerships. The Sun is not in its most comfortable position in the sign of Libra. It's in fall, right? Because it is exalted in the opposite sign, Aries. But that doesn't have to mean anything bad because it's altruistic. It thinks of another divine neutrality in the sign of Libra, inanimate. So that's when we can actually be in the best possible state to think things through, feel things through. So it's all about partnerships, right? And Libra is being highlighted. And immediately there's the south node approaching slowly but surely the 0 point of Libra, which means the north node is approaching 0 of Aries, the world stage. 0 of the cardinals is the world stage. So this autumn prepares something massive. Diplomatically, alliance, relationships, collectively we understand the wars, and diplomacy needs to work overtime, right? But this is also in our personal lives. Contracts, the other, and relationship forming patterns within us that really need to some be released, transformed, but when it comes to change, this aspect shouts at us. It screams at us in the literal sense. Venus is the ruler of Libra, right? So she's home still at 29 degree of Libra. 29 degree of Libra is a really delicate degree because that is either the gate to heaven or to hell, right? Mat. The verdict, decision, or a big contract, big relationship is going to be decided. Pluto squaring Venus to the degree, both at 29 degree. Venus in Libra, Pluto in Capricorn, so that's massive. That's big. Big decision, or something big happens in relationships. But this can also represent a fated new relationship, but one that is something's complicated there, and the lessons of the past must be applied big time for you to make it work. And this can be a job relationship, right? Because it doesn't necessarily, no one said romance only, work, contracts of any kind. So Libra is the other, one-on-one alliances that can be in so very many ways, even with non-people, a state, an organization, an institution, whatever. So Black Moon Lilith is also in Libra. So that gives a strong honesty there and a BS detector in the best possible expression. In the worst possible expression, compromise, there is no choice to be idealistic. You need to look at stark reality and make choices based on that. But Anaretic Venus also says that. Squaring Anaretic Pluto also says that. So something based on big reality that you cannot ignore. So this already is big. Now, another energy which, sorry, is pretty big. Well, Mercury squares Jupiter. Mercury home in Mercury home in Virgo. Now, this either means need to innovate, need to do it totally differently than either other people, the norm, the recommended. This either means some kind of compromise, but that which needs to be really, really balanced and not extreme in any way, shape, and form. Because Jupiter in Gemini requires life experience and a certain trust. What does a certain trust mean? Well, for example, knowing when you can trust a promise and knowing when you must not rely on the promise. It's welcome, but it's unreliable and don't count on it. So this is a good example. Or negotiation, or the right modus operandi, or finding resources for something, you know what I mean, getting it right. Jupiter, speaking about Jupiter, is still in a waning square with Saturn, right? So this is actually a good thing, because it means that this autumn, this karmic cycle that is gonna begin, we are gonna put to the table, down to the table, the reality checks that we had all throughout the summer when the Jupiter's Saturn square was online. So big, in a significant way, because this is just the base tone. Let us not forget the lessons that we were taught just this summer. So we are really going to use our wisdom and clear judgment. And because Mercury holds the square with Jupiter now, that clear judgment changes our modus operandi. So the way I see this, finding balance, finding the right execution, or if it's a compromise so that it works for everyone, or like for some people this can be choosing between lesser evil and bigger evil, so if it's not a real choice, so how do you make it work? How do you have something, right? How do you make it work? Another energy that I need to mention is that, again, Mercury quincunxes Chiron, making something work, making something be healing, even if it's complicated, delicate, etc., etc. But let's speak about some good things here. One good thing is that the sun holds an outer sign opposition with Neptune. So this to me says that we're really, really applying both a certain kind of realism, but also faith in a empowered way. We know what's true and what's not true. Then the sun holds an outer sign trine with Pluto. Remember Pluto's connection with Neptune and Uranus. Applying that inner alchemy, that inner power, inner wisdom gets us to making all the right choices. But we have to apply both the dimension of the mind, of value system, feelings, Venus, and erratic Libra, right? But also faith and morality, Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, and our deepest faith and self-knowledge. We have to put all of this wisdom at the same time to the table to get the choices right, and to use our personal power to invest it into the right things and withdraw it from that which takes away power. And that is kind of suggestive of Pluto in Capricorn, an erratic degree of Capricorn. Mainstream, the state, codependency on a social structure, etc., etc. Top-down authority. We don't want big centralized. We want local. Long story short, it's centralized is breaking into local, and we are in the process of that. So that means taking the power out from central and putting the power into local. But this, the way it happens, well, it's complex and not, so there is this type of energy. Then the sun, just before it entered Libra, right? Being at the end degrees of Virgo, trined, as in it received a trine from Uranus. That's a good, either a grand idea, an infusion of cleverness, ingenuity, a eureka moment, an epiphany. Finally, I get it, or the way is open. So that gives a lot of motivation. And Sun into Libra, okay, so let's make it happen. Let's make the right choices, options, contracts, partners, others, one-on-one. So let's make it happen, right? So the South Node in Libra is suggestive of that, and also Venus, anoretic and squaring, holding a to the degree exact square to Pluto, big life-changing decision, or a fated encounter, attraction, or something like that. That changes the tone of everything, right? Now let us look at the moon, which is a 0 degree, 1 degree of Gemini. And I find this very important because the moon is the queen of the sky, right? So she is infinitely more important than I can even express, because she gives how we feel about things. And even hyper rational people, everyone is guided by the unconscious. So even if one controls feelings, one cannot control the unconscious. So the moon is always very important. Gemini, right? Trying to understand, trying to connect ration, Mercury, with emotion, right? But optimism as well. Moon has its most light-hearted, humoristic expression in Gemini. It likes to laugh and take things easy. So this is good because it trines the sun. Sorry, that's Moon trining the sun. That's the soul, or the unconscious, and the ego rationale, the light of our awareness, flows. They cooperate. They're on the same page. Mind, Gemini, lower mind and perception. Libra, our philosophies and aspirations, and other people, what we project onto others. Communication, even. And Mercury at this moment squares Jupiter. So big words, big words, power of words. Power of words which can go either way. They can both heal and harm. Quincunx to Chiron, yes. So there's that. Then Mars squares Black Moon Lilith, Mars in Cancer, very protective. The influence of family, or having to choose between family and your partner, or moving, relocation that changes everything, contracts, friends, having to adapt to something. So that's also there. But going back to the sun and moon, this is where the moon holds an outer sign trine with Pluto. So again, that would make it a very weird grand trine with the sun, right? That means some kind of personal power in the mind, right? Because this is just air energy. Well, actually, air energy, moon and sun, air energy, but Pluto outer sign trine, right, is not all that airy because it's in an erratic Capricorn. So the rubbles, the ruins, the tower, right, of something are building material for the future. Because, okay, 29 degree of Capricorn, right? But it is still hovering between 29 of Capricorn and 0 of Aquarius. So a little bit, it's also, its influence is still is in Aquarius too. So air, right? Finding an opportunity, people, a dream, a goal, a principle. This is this can be quite a positive energy. And because of this grand trine where sun moon, right? This to me says big moves in partnerships, even if it's not very easy, right? Because this equinox is a few days after a big supermoon eclipse, super full moon eclipse in Pisces on the 18th, 17th, 18th. So that's only a few days after. So you can imagine karma big time and emotion big time. So there is a sense of readiness. There is a sense of wanting to move forward. There is hope, even if things are hard. Things are hard in our lives. Venus squaring Pluto, finding the money or making it work practically, schedule, time, job, institution, government, stuff like that. Something legal, divorce, or a new beginning that needs a big sacrifice, a leap of faith, intensity. But motivation is there. Mercury square Jupiter again. You really, really need to get it right. And thinking, brainstorming, not easy. You have to get the details, Mercury and Virgo home. The devil's in the details, right? Everything has to be, you cannot ignore anything. Jupiter expands this, but the expansion must not feel like a needle in a haystack, or it has to serve you, not complicate, not get in your own way, not defeat you. Because Jupiter in Gemini has a dark side where you want, where you wanted to get it right so badly that everything goes wrong, and you get it more wrong that you could have ever done the opposite, right, of what you intend. So we must be careful, because this energy doesn't like try hard, you know, the ultra try hard, or this doesn't like, I need to get it perfect, my way, or this energy requires careful adaptation. This energy favors agility, again, adaptation, versatility. Sun and Libra. Now, I don't want to use some not necessarily nice words here, but I wanted to say pleasing others and being kind of more diplomatic, more honey than you really are, but not in a deceptive way. You know what I mean? In an honest way, thinking about others. But this part isn't easy either, opposition to Neptune, right? Because even this has to be balanced. It cannot, a sacrifice cannot sabotage you, but neither can you abandon someone who needs you, or, you know, you get what I mean. We really need to get the balance right. Because Libra never emphasized its balanced side more than now. Because Libra can represent so many different things. Balance is just one of many. But right now, it's really emphasizing, telling us, asking us, begging us, the divine blueprint, right? Balance. Aim for balance. No try hard, but neither, you know, total passivity. That Mars square Black Moon Lilith. Do what needs to be done. Accept help from where it comes, right? So it is really, really important for us to get things right. So I hope this helped. Thank you so much for listening, and wishing everyone a blessed autumn or spring equinox, depending on where you are. And until next time, bye for now.